What is up, Ruth?
My eldest, my daughter, is 15, and she is facing a diagnosis of schizophrenia.
Okay, let's stop right there. That's a lot, right?
Yep.
And by the time a family gets to this point, it means you guys have endured a hard 15 years. Is that right? Probably more like 7 or 8 or 9 years.
In her case, no. Her symptoms are pretty new.
Okay, so tell me about
anything that has been life-changing. And so there's a lot to figure out. And so anyway, there's a lot to figure out, but the question that I have for you is that one of the things that we're wrestling with the most is that she has expressed to me more than once that she would like to share this diagnosis with her friends, with her teachers, with our extended family. And that brings up a lot of fears for myself and my husband, her father.
Okay.
And we were wondering what advice you would give us, and if it was your daughter, what advice would you give her about that part of the decision?
Okay. First thing, I love your heart. Awesome question. Thank you for being bold and brave and asking this question. And we live in a world where that level of bravery that you just asked, we can't do anymore because one group's going to say you're nuts, one group's going to say you're discriminatory. I appreciate your heart there. So when you say facing a diagnosis of, in a relatively out of nowhere, this thing just showed up. What is showing up?
About 4 months ago, she came to me very upset in the early morning and told me that she was seeing people.
Okay.
She's having visual hallucinations of people every day.
And have they done neurological exams? There's no brain lesions or anything?
Correct. We've pursued a lot of different tests to try to rule out all of the possible physical explanations.
Okay.
There are a couple outliers that we are still trying to get approved by the insurance, but they are outliers. We'd have to get like a full PET scan.
Yeah.
She's had all the obvious ones. She's had all the blood work for parasites, and she's had the MRI, and she's had, all of those things checked.
Is she having, is she going to war with these people that she's seeing? Is it an uncomfortable thing, or is it just a recognition that there are people there that I know intellectually are not there? They
are not threatening. They are unsettling because she knows they're not real.
Okay. And so when you say they're facing, schizophrenia, obviously, for those who don't know, you often whittle it down. It's a process of elimination till you land on a place, right?
Exactly. We're running out of landing gear.
Okay. What is the benefit of this diagnosis? Because this is a relatively permanent diagnosis.
I'm not entirely sure. She's just completed another round of neuropsychological global evaluations.
Okay.
And we're waiting on those. But it looks like, something in the family of schizophrenia is pretty much our only option.
Okay.
And regardless of the exact name.
How is she doing?
The question is still the same, what does she do with this?
Well, here's why I'm getting it at. Here's where I'm getting at what actually is happening.
Yeah.
If this has to do with like a neurological issue, if this has to do with like surfacing traumas, if this has to do with several things that are not schizophrenia, right? That is not confirmed that you have this diagnosis, then I would recommend telling people, I'm really struggling. I'm having challenges. I am seeing those kind of things don't bother me. Here's why.
Maybe I rephrase the question.
Okay.
Maybe like take the label of schizophrenia off the table.
Okay.
How do I answer the question from her? I want to tell my friends that I see people who aren't there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Do I tell her that's okay, that that's safe? Or do I tell her that's a bad idea?
So here's the balance I want you to strike. Number one, if this is schizophrenia, this will be with her for the rest of her life. And this will be something that she navigates and negotiates. And I don't want her for a second going to war with her own body, going to war with her own mind. Right? I don't want her hiding things. I don't want her trying to put parts of her heart and her mind in a compartment. The more that she can own who she is, own her challenges. The biggest challenge with someone with schizophrenia is keeping them on a treatment plan. And if you can keep people on a treatment plan, keep them taking their meds and keep them practicing, hygiene and connection with other people, then there is some successful outcomes, right? It's when people when they stop being a part of their treatment plans. And that comes from compartmentalization, that comes from hiding, that comes from withdrawal, and suddenly people are out. And so part of me says, good for her. The other side of that is, if this isn't confirmed, I don't want my 14-year-old just going to school and using this as a way to connect with other people, right?
It's absolutely. I mean, do you ever teach your kids something and go, well, that didn't turn out how I planned? We were intentional and deliberate, and we taught our kids that we keep surprises, but we don't keep secrets.
That's right.
Because secrets hurt people.
Right.
And she says to me, I don't want to keep this a secret. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how to meet that and say what to do with that next.
There's a difference where I would change it is there's a difference between a secret and something that's private. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to medical things, when it comes to our bodies, some things are private. They're not secrets, they're private, right? So if I've got some kind of medical condition that might be embarrassing, right? I might tell my friends, hey, I've got some medical issues, man. I'm not gonna be able to go to this or that. I'm not gonna encourage a child to disclose everything that's going on with their body. Yeah. Because other kids can't hear that, right? Now,
I agree. I'm afraid of what can happen if she opens herself to this. And she's unmoored and she's scared and, everything doesn't seem quite real right now. And I'm afraid of her opening herself up to being hurt in a new way.
Right.
But I don't want to turn this into something that she has to hide, some sort of thing that's wrong with her. I mean, she comes to me and she says, Mom, what if we can't figure this out? What if they can't figure it out? What if I'm just crazy?
And one of the most terrifying things, and I've had a few interactions with kids over the years who are heading down this road. And it is a trajectory. That's why I thought you had dealt with it for several years. For it to emerge like this in that way, that my first thought is something physical. But again, I trust you and definitely trust your family and your doctors. So the most terrifying part of this,
we've been pushing them pretty hard.
Yeah, the most terrifying thing, and I'll tell you, I'm just being honest with you as I can. Okay, the most terrifying part, in my experience, as walking alongside young people in this situation, is that they can consciously feel themselves losing their mind. They feel it happening, and there's seasons when they know there are people here, or I am having hallucinations of, or I am feeling that I am being listened to by that clock over there, whatever the challenge I've experienced, and they also simultaneously know there are no microphones in that clock. There are no other people in this room other than you, Delony. And that in and of itself is the scariest part. I can feel myself unwinding. And so I think as her mom, your job is to say, you will never, ever be alone in this deal. As long as I can help it. And you will never lose us. You're never going to lose love. You're never going to lose this connection here. As long as I'm on this planet, I'm plugged into my baby girl. And what I wouldn't tell her, hey, that's never going to happen, because that's not true. I would say, yeah, this is really scary. It's scary for all of us, and you are not walking through this alone. And when she says things like, Mom, what happens if I lose my mind? That's when you respond with, that just sounds so scary, doesn't it? Tell me about what you're feeling. You can't promise her one thing and you can't promise her the other thing. You can model for her, I'm listening to these fears, right? And as a parent, I know how powerless this feels, right?
For sure.
Powerless. I do think it's important that she not set herself up with her peers. You say she's 14, 15?
15, freshman.
15. Yeah, I would draw a distinction between private and secret. Right? And maybe I'm trying to think of something that's not I don't know. If I had testicular cancer, I would tell my closest buddies, I would not announce that in big spaces. Not because I'm embarrassed about testicular cancer, but I don't want to have extended conversations with people that I'm not close to about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so one of those is I would tell people I got cancer, and they'd say, "What kind of cancer?" And I'd be like, "Yep." And they'd know exactly what I meant because I'm a grown up, right? And there's people that I would talk to about it, but I wouldn't just go put that out there because of the impact on other people, not on me. If you listen to this show enough, I'd just talk about anything. So I think teaching her the difference between secret and private is one thing. The second thing is making sure she's got people at school she can talk to. So she knows she's not broken, she's not dirty, she's not disgusting, she's not gross. It is not normal. It is out of the ordinary, but she is still beautiful however she was put together. And so making sure she's got coaches or teachers or guidance counselors at school that can give her a safe space. And what I would recommend is having somebody she can see face to face. So if you went and met with a school counselor, have y'all done that?
It's very difficult. They just opened the school for people that aren't students to come in. So I could physically go see her counselor now, but I haven't yet. I
would write an email to the school counselor exactly what you told me, that we've been getting testing over the last 4 months. This has emerged, and this is where we're headed. And we want you to help us with some guidance with our young one on how to navigate this at school. I'm not comfortable with a 15-year-old owning this narrative. Here's why. It may go away. Mm-hmm. Here's why. It may not be schizophrenia. If I'm you, I would tell the doctors I want a diagnosis of schizophrenia to be a last thing. We only do that if we have to, unless insurance says I'm not paying for the meds, unless we have to. And I want to see if there's some other ways we can work through this. Has she already started taking antipsychotics? Has she already taken medication?
We started with some anti-anxiety medications.
Okay.
Working on that angle to see if that was kind of feeding this. And that didn't really help. She's on the lowest dose of an antipsychotic right now.
Okay.
And it has helped, but they're not gone.
Okay. All right. Is there any sort of behavioral interventions? Diet, exercise, go outside, play with people?
Not different than our lives were before. Okay. We're fortunate enough to live far enough outside the city that we've got property and animals, and she's out and getting that vitamin D and that activity regularly. So
very cool. What's her interaction with other people? Is she allowed to do that? Could she play with friends?
Sure I understand the question.
Could she play with other kids?
She is involved in so much. Like I said, she's a rock star. She's in some clubs and in some organizations outside of school that keep her moving. Okay. And keep those connections going. But everything's a different format this year.
Okay. Yeah. So. And part of me wonders, man, is there some sort of environmental issue here, some sort of physical issue? Then the combination of those has set some things off that when she gets more into a routine and gets back. And again, that's me being optimistic here. So here's a bigger question. How are you and your husband dealing with this? How are y'all?
My usual response is to dig in and give myself lots of practical things to do. So right now my job is just to tell the doctors and get as many tests as I can and have those conversations with her when she's scared.
Yeah.
I know that from other crises in my life that I will have to circle back around and do some work on myself as well, but I'm not there right now.
You didn't answer my question though. How's your marriage?
Interesting. I don't know that I've ever heard my husband say I'm scared.
Yeah.
In as blatant terms as he has lately.
Yeah. What was your response to that?
Me too. Yeah. He's a very practical person. He can learn how to do anything. He can, if the plumbing's working, he'll just fix it. And if the car needs something, he'll fix that. And if the electric's not working, he'll fix that in addition to the 2 jobs that he's working. So, he came to me and he's like, this is the first time I've just looked at something and gone, I have no idea what to do with this.
Here's what you do. You put down the solution part of this because y'all can't solve this. Okay? Mm-hmm. What you can do is stay hyper connected to one another, continue to be vulnerable. I'm proud of you for inviting him into that conversation. I'm proud of him for being a vulnerable guy, living out on acreage, saying to his wife, I don't know what to do. Feeling scared is right. And what I'll tell you is I've seen these things when students of mine have been on treatment plans, that they hang in there and can go about life. Are they always going to have challenges? Yep, they are. But they can go about life. And then I've seen some hard things where kids get off their treatment plan and things are really difficult. And so the fact that your daughter's got a bulldog of a mama in there ready to go to war on her behalf is wonderful. It's great. You've got to temper that with putting your own oxygen mask on too.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to temper that with knowing that part of her journey is a safe house. And a safe house starts with you and your husband intimately tethered together, rock solid, that we're in this for the long haul. And letting your daughters be heard and not making any promises that we can't uphold. And here's the thing. This is just scary, and it sucks, and it's awful. And it's that lack of power. It's that lack of control, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And I wish I had better options for you, better news for you, better all this stuff. But going back to your original question to me is, there's a difference between privacy and secrets, and some things for 15-year-olds need to stay private. They don't need to stay a secret. They need to stay private. But she does need to have some folks at school she can talk to, that when she does get scared, when she does get unnerved, she'll have a signal with the teachers, a signal with the guidance counselor. She'll have permission to just get up and go into the counselor's office. And she'll have a group of adults watching her while you're not there. And that will give you some peace of mind in your heart. And hopefully the doctors can get to a resolution relatively quickly and then begin a treatment plan that's going to be hopefully short-term, but more likely long-term. And the more we can practice, the more we can get her connected with other people. And the more we can get her following this treatment plan, the more it will become part of her rhythm in the rest of her life. 15, for whatever it's worth, is pretty young. Usually it's late 18, 19, 20, 21, up to 25. And so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that this is something unrelated and that she's struggling with something else and it's not schizophrenia. And we're going to just stay optimistic and keep praying and keep hope alive on this one. Ruth, I just can't thank you enough for your heart. Let me know how those conversations with the school go and make sure she's got some folks there, and continue to look at your daughter and let her know she's beautiful. She's perfect the way she's made. This is scary. And while you can't make the scary things go away, you will be with her, right? You will be with her.